So I'm interested, well, first, is there anybody else that wants to come on this? And while you think, I'm interested that we bring into it a little bit of the practical awareness. Because, well, just for example, no relationship, absolutely no relationship can stand the test of time if we fail to realize that we are reach a symphonic arrangement, because we will run so quickly into so many difficulties and problems unless we see the other person as a composite of many parts. And we truly cannot, I mean, can we? Can we truly appreciate love and joy without experiencing grief and pain? And the two come together. They're part of the story of life. So both in the interior sense, but also in our relationships, unless we begin to see each other as not one thing, but many things, we quickly run into troubles.
I find that the subject matter we're dancing within, both perceptive, but it's challenging. There's a challenge inside of this to understand what's possible. I'm given, I think there's a couple myopics that the human deals with. One is just the economy in the world that we live in. It presses us to be one thing in the world. And on the other hand, there's examples like Leonardo da Vinci or Michelangelo or the Renaissance man. And there's people like that today. Multi-skilled, multi-expression. Somehow they've connected to their intelligence, to their creativity. They've got expression. So the human seems to, in special cases, have an incredible array of capabilities. And I'm a champion of that personally. And I think that there's a loss. I think the culture, in many ways, unfortunately, for all of its good intentions, it does blunt the human potential. And again, I'm getting the sense of the direction of this conversation is, well, what might be the orientation of the individual to being able to recognize within themselves the multiple things that they could expand into within themselves? And what a wonderful proposition to be introduced to. And so one of those places that Aviva was just pointing to is in your relationships with people. And I know sometimes in my house, might be the TV's on and there's shoes on the floor, and I walk in the room and I go, what the? And my lovely wife will look at me and go, you know, your father just walked in this room, because I'm acting like my dad, and it's unavoidable. And but then I can put it in check, and I have this. So this outside character can reflect back to me, hey, you're being a bit of that kind of person. And, you know, the great saying is, do you want to really be that guy? And in that reflection, I have the option to choose what guy I want to be. And when life is frustrating, I have the option to be who I want to be when I'm being frustrated. When I see perhaps someone outside of me could use some help, I have the option of how would I bring that help. And I find life continuously presents a multiplicity of options for me to choose. But it's just this type of stirring of this conversation now that is the empowering part of it, is that you do not need to be stuck in what the world has turned you out to be. You know, you don't need to be stuck in, you know, even who you think you are. You probably are a better dancer. You're probably a better singer. You probably have more creativity than you would give yourself credit for. So I think that's an opening in that I feel the direction of the conversation going. That's very liberating, and I'm very, I love calling it over again. So thanks for having this conversation.
Yeah, and in your story about the father that walked into the living room of in your house, you're clearly also indicating that the other way to look at the orchestra that we each are is we are the orchestra of all the people that we interacted with, and certainly all the people that influenced us, parents, brothers, sisters, other people that shaped us in our upbringing, teachers, and so on. And the fulcrum point of your story is, do you let that part of the orchestra run on autopilot, or do you actually make a choice? Who do you choose to be in all these characters? What are some other inroads where you take this awareness that you are an orchestra of many parts into the practical side of life, of living, first of all, with greater awareness, but then bringing greater efficacy and presence of mind and the capacity to choose because of that in every aspect of your life. Please, anybody.
It's very interesting. There are many, many amazing things being said by all of you. Also about the influence of the education in making us believe that we are singular, whilst only 60 years ago, my grandmother in a Cypriot village, she knew all the trees, she knew all the animals, how to take care of them. She could cook, actually produce, bread and all the foods, and really had amazing skills and knowledge. And today and after the Industrial Revolution, we are really all falling in this cult of not trusting our abilities to do. And with the artificial intelligence, coming in our life so strong, this cult is getting dangerous proportions, and we must resist. I think my view is not to sing only one song, just rap, let's say. What about singing opera? What about singing, a fado, Portuguese fado? Or what about singing an Irish lullaby or an African beat? And what about the combinations like gypsy swing or African hip hop or Caribbean waltz? Or, when Pavarotti was singing together with the U2, or Freddie Mercury with the ethereal voice of Montserrat Caballé. What about these combinations? Why only be stuck in one? And I was thinking also about the practicality of why do we have to develop many lives? I think one life can enhance the other life. Let's say our body is tired. So the voice of our body is saying, oh, I'm really tired. But if the voice of our inspiration comes in, or if the power of our vision, or if the fertilization from our passion and love about something comes in, then the stamina, the potency, the strength is multiplied. The same with a trauma. Let's say we have a trauma, but then we acquired some wisdom in our life, and that can heal this trauma. Or if we have a fear, then our logic or our our wish can overcome that fear, and we can dare to go out and play and have our say and not be shy. So I was thinking how these lives can have a synergy and can help one another. Whilst if we think we are only one thing, then it's really, really like, you have a Porsche and you drive it like it's a Volkswagen.
Well, what's being said has been making me think of the human range and how we really are not one thing. And let's say, as an example, practical example, the person I think mostly that I am hates administration of any kind, loves the arts and movement and cooking and gardens and everything, hates admin. Now, running my own business, I need to do my admin. When I get myself to do it, I actually discover there's a life in there that enjoys doing it and does it very well. And what often can be an obstacle, I find anyway, is bridging from my comfort zone, or in musical terms, the comfort range of my voice, into something else that is completely within human capability, that is even in the capability of this individual human, but not just such a well-trodden path. And I know there's one way that I can persuade myself often to cross that bridge, is the excitement of widening my range, the deliberately chosen thought that, hang on, I don't want to be narrow. That is actually very, very boring. And that I want to be able to do this and that, all the multiple things that a human can do, some of which I might find very boring, but why not try it just to give that capability some chance? You know, neurologically, it's known that synapses that don't get used wither. And I read many years ago about this marvelous scientific experiment they did, I think, with very aged nuns, I think somewhere, I can't remember which country, it doesn't matter, but they were very nuns, some of whom were in their 80s, in their 90s. Those of the nuns, they were all exposed to the same circumstance. They all lived in the same nunnery. But those who were either keeping active by learning to play a new instrument or learning a new language did not get dementia, whereas those who, by analogy, played the same song every day, who did not extend their range into later life, were far more likely to go into ill health, both physically and mentally. So in terms of evidence, would that be more evidence about us not being one thing?
Yes, if you are a piano with 7 octaves, why play just one? Yes, beautiful. Please, John.
Rita, you struck an interesting note, pun intended, in me about the what was it? You don't your feelings about doing a number crunching. And one of the things about being a multiplicity inside of multiple multiplicities is that I think that people tend to, I can see it myself, cherry pick out of the multiplicity the bits that we like. So if we take up, I know this in my own business as well, is there's aspects that I had to actually build an assembly for. I didn't really find myself naturally inclined that way. I didn't really even want to do it, but in the use the words, it just sort of goes with the territory. And if you don't like the heat, get out of the kitchen, kind of thing. And so I've learned to kind of, okay, start to embrace some of the lesserly desired aspects, because the logic, it seems, in the universe is you got wholeness. For example, everything, we breathe the whole air, we eat the whole apple, and some of it gets refined, used, some of it gets stored, some of it gets expended. And that's a logic in the system. And so, but the way the cherry picking works is it goes against this kind of logic, because it says, well, I'll have the apple, but I only want red one, or I don't want the skin, or I like the skin and I won't touch the middle parts. And then so in a way, curtailing oneself is saying, well, I will only deal in these 2/10 of this 1/1000th. The numbers, I'm screwing them up, but you get the idea.
30 trillion.
Yes, 30 trillion. Well, and even so, in the one of the important reasons, I think, where the learning to actually, what was the words? Why is this important? Is the A, consider that we're a multiplicity, and B, we're dealing in a multiple thing. And when you take up something, you take it all up, not just the bits that you like. Otherwise, you're not working according to a natural logic, which is, oh, the whale opens its mouth and everything goes in there. And it filters out the krill. It filters the krill, and the rest gets expended out. So I see the logic of why this is important consideration. And I know, Aviv, you asked about more like family practices. Was that it? Something like that?
I'm coming to ask about practices in a minute, but if you want to lead into anything, please.
Well, okay. Just one brief thing is, I know in our family, neither of us have schedules. It's a constant bunch of moving plates, and so the idea is to think, well, who is this? I actually do that. I think, okay, who's this today, or who is this next hour? Because my wife's job requires, you could say, certain types of biological containment, or I'm trying to think of the word for it. It's
bioenergetics and sensitivities and capacities of different kind in different aspects.
Yeah.
Of her job, yes.
Yeah, of her job. So, but one of the things I've learned this week is that the way I work, if she asks me a question, she'll get everything: the extensions, the addendums, the commentary upon the addendum upon the addendum upon the commentary. And really all she wanted was a yes or no. But I take the question as a, hey, an open door. But and what I started to learn is that a yes and no, she didn't need the whole story, just the yes and the no. And sometimes the whole story is appropriate. So I think the way I'm starting to learn is, okay, if she's in a particular state or working in a particular domain, and ask the question, I'm starting to feel, yes, that's a yes or no. That's all. I don't need to go into the commentary on the commentary on the commentary. It's just one thing. And if I'm focused on something and she starts to address it, I say, I can't right now. Because what I realize is that when a person is in something, there's the whole thing. And and if you make an inquiry onto just one little piece of it, you can't just do that, because that person sees that one little piece inside of a whole context. And then either you receive this dump of stuff, you have TMI, as in too much information, or it causes a freeze up, because the contradiction is, there's a contradiction there, and you can't just sort of say one thing about a multiplicity. I don't know if I'm making any sense, but
Well, sometime in the orchestral pieces, there are parts that don't need to make sense. They need to create a feeling and an experience, and you've certainly transferred the experience of that exchange with your wife.
yeah. Now, well, but okay, can I just say one more thing and now leave it alone? When I used to play in an orchestra, I would have this part. I was like the equivalent of a viola or second violin, which don't get any respect. There's so many viola and second violin jokes, almost equivalent of banjo jokes or accordion jokes. And so you get this sheet music, right? And you don't know the song. You have no idea what it is. So all you're going is going plink, count a measure, plink, count a measure, plink, 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 count 5 measures, lose track, and it sounds like crap, really does. And you don't know how it's supposed to sound until you hear the wholeness. When everybody else comes in of their parts, and you think, oh, I see now where the plink, plink, count 10 measures, plink fits into the whole picture. But when you just got your bit and you're focused on your bit, you don't see it. So there was just that, something you said promoted that kind of awareness.